Welcome to Hardwood Handicappers with Zach Cohen, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Zachary Cohen, VSiN.com senior editor with another episode of Hardwood Handicappers. Today is Wednesday, February 4th. It is 9 a.m. Eastern, and we have a lot to discuss on the podcast today. Today, I'm joined by both Jonathan Von Tobel, co-host of Money Moves, and Kelley Bydlon, co-host of A Numbers Game. These are the former co-hosts of this podcast, but have been kind enough to join me throughout the course of this season to help me out in my first foray into podcasting. But guys, we have you joined with me here today for the trade deadline, which is tomorrow, but it does seem like yesterday was almost its own trade deadline. What's going on?
Not much, Zach. We're back. Thanks for having us. All three of us back on a pod. Great to see, man. Out of the text messages onto the podcast.
Yeah, there's no, when we were doing this, like the last time we were together, I would play crappy sound bites and make you guys laugh at them and make references that you guys didn't understand. And now it's you in control, and I'm sure the podcast is better for it, but I'm happy we're back together, at least for one.
Yeah, I don't have sound bites. They're just not available for me. I can make noises if you want, but that's it. That's all I can do. But all right. So I want to just jump kind of into our best bets for tonight, because I think that what we should spend most of the time talking about are the trades that happened, the betting impact of those trades, and then any trades that maybe we want to see happen or think will happen the rest of the deadline. But what takeaways do you guys have from last night? I do think that there was one result that I thought mattered. It was the Pistons beating the Nuggets in a game where I just continue to think that Detroit looks really good whenever they play strong competition. I continue to say that this team is kind of like a piece away, and I still think they are, but they do kind of prove me wrong rather often.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree. I'll go first there. I mean, I think with Detroit, they're continuously kind of flying under the radar, oddly enough, for a one seed that no one's really taking seriously. And many of us, and I'm guilty of it, are trying to look for other pieces in the Eastern Conference to surpass them. Now, I think Cleveland can do that, and we'll talk about why. But I do think that they are a much more formidable team. And who knows? I mean, I would assume they understand what their team looks like, and they're going to go and get something at the deadline to kind of help with a secondary creator in those clutch time situations next to Cade. But they continue to play extremely well. They're a good defensive home team. Cade continues to deliver, and he's got an outside shot at MVP, and I think that's really going to help him out. I would agree. I think they continue to impress in these games.
Yeah, right there with you guys. Very impressive, and at the same time, I'm looking for another bet in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, they go up against this good competition. They've looked great all year. Don't get the cover last night right at the close, but do get the win. 41 points in the fourth for Denver Nuggets. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there was much to take away from last night. That was definitely the one marquee matchup.
Well, I mean, if I could, I mean, I think there is legitimate reasons why we doubt them, right? I mean, in a playoff series, who next to Cade is going to be the other offensive outlet? Who's going to be the guy that can create offense in a secondary nature? I mean, you look at some of these teams that have made these runs. The Denver Nuggets, of course, have Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. The Dallas Mavericks had Kyrie Irving next to Luka Doncic. You know, you have other guys that you could trust, Jalen Williams and, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, like, there's an ability there that you can give the ball to somebody. You know, I'm looking right now, I have the box score pulled up, and one of the highlights, it's just the mocap here, or whatever you call it, you know, the freeze image. And it's Cade Cunningham with 4 defenders around him in the paint. You know, like,
it's a good example picture. Yeah.
Yeah, like you've got to be able to get somebody else. And I think in a best of 7 series, you really feel that absence a lot more than you do in the regular season.
Yeah. Yep, I completely agree with both of you. Like, I still think that it's going to be somebody else in the Eastern Conference. I just wanted to bring it up because it was. I do kind of continue to doubt them, and they just continue to win. So I wanted to get them. Zach
Cohen told me Lauri Markkanen was going to be on this team. What happened to that?
Now Lauri is the
Zach Cohen was working on that trade for 2 months.
Building block in Utah. That's what's happening.
That's right.
Hey, Kawhi still might be on this
team. Let's talk about our best bets for tonight. Let's kind of run through them quickly. Do you guys have anything for this evening? Just give me the elevator pitch for them.
I've got one. I don't know why I'm getting involved in the Oklahoma City San Antonio matchup, because it's been cleaning me out all season long. But I guess I'm back in, and not at Oklahoma City this time. Did take 2 with San Antonio at home. OKC off the back-to-back from last night. Look, 6-4 over their last 10. Every time that Oklahoma City struggles, it's well documented. But yeah, 6-4 over their last 10. 7.4 net. That is fifth best in the NBA. Look, top 10 offense and defense. Nothing's changed with Oklahoma City. San Antonio continues to play well. This team, maybe the team I was the most off on heading into this season. That under on their win total. Man, if they really played well this year. 6-4 their last 10. 5.7 net. 8th offense, 9th defense during that time. Watch the injury report for Oklahoma City. I like San Antonio, and I was surprised to see them as a dog.
Cool. JVT, what about you?
So I'm going to go with the Cavaliers today against the Los Angeles Clippers, actually, in this matchup of two teams that are in the midst of a trade right now. But I do think that when you look at this, look, Cleveland's been playing without their guy. Los Angeles has not. They are going to miss James Harden, I think, and the creation that he has and the offense that he is going to generate for this team, both on the ball and off the ball. So I think that's actually kind of a big absence for them. If you look at Cleveland, yeah, the injury report's not great outside of Darius Garland-Mobley still out, but again, they've been playing without him for a little bit now. I think they're going to be able to manage. So I think they're in a relatively good spot. And I don't know about you guys, but I do kind of think that you're treading lightly here on a day like this because some of these names, that are out there, I don't know if I want to be I don't know if I want to get too froggy with this card, only because you just don't know who's on the move and who's going. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I thought about Sacramento against Memphis, but then my thought was, I mean, is Domantas Sabonis going to be on the roster by the time we get to the game? And those are always tricky spots to be in. And so I'm going to sit back and be pretty selective with what I've gotten so far. I think it's just Cleveland because I think these teams are relatively done. And who knows? Tom Haberstroh had a great report the other day where he spelled out the way that the Cleveland Cavaliers could get Giannis, LeBron, and James Harden. So maybe they're not done, but I would expect they're not done.
I do think the Cavs are going to try. I don't make a call.
For Giannis?
Yeah.
Yeah. That or LaMelo.
Yeah.
All right, well, just to back you up, John. Yeah, I'm not doing much tonight. I think Minnesota-Toronto is probably the best example of I want nothing to do with that one. I mean, Toronto working on Sabonis all day long, you would think. Minnesota's going to spend all day sending 72 different trade proposals to Milwaukee. That is a game I want nothing to do with. Yeah, Memphis-Sacramento is probably a good call. You know what? Honestly, I kind of skipped by Cavs and Clippers. Kind of in that same vein, but that is, I think you made a good point on the Cavs. This Clippers team is going to feel that loss of Harden a lot more immediately.
And the Cavs have been playing well, man. Like Zach and I think I've talked about it for 2 or 3 straight weeks here on this podcast whenever I come on. They're a team that I think is kind of flying under the radar and could be that team that is going to be a threat now, of course, to Detroit in the Eastern Conference. They've quietly put all their stuff together, and everybody who thought things were falling apart because they were injured now realize, they weren't healthy, and they're looking a lot healthier now.
Yeah, I'm with both of you. I think it is a night to tread lightly. I do have 4 picks, but it's all in games that do not feature teams that I think will be making more trades. I took the Nuggets +7 against the Knicks. I just haven't seen anything concrete that says Nikola Jokic is not going to play tonight. And if he does play tonight, I would expect this to be a close game again, even with them playing the second leg of a back-to-back. I think Cam Johnson might be returning tonight. That sounds like it's possible, and they are starting to just get a little bit healthier. So I thought that was a lot of points. If Jokic is ruled out and it ends up being a bad number or whatever, I also parlayed the Rockets money line against the Celtics with the Spurs alternate +7.5 versus the Thunder. That's +115. I took Ryan Rollins over 26.5 points and assists at -125 versus the Pelicans. Kind of like a blind bet for me at this point, as long as it's at that number. And then I also took Sam Merrill over 11.5 points at -105 versus the Clippers. Just one of the guys that has a bigger role with Garland out and now off the team. But we should just get right into that Cavaliers-Clippers trade because that's the first one I wanted to talk about with you guys. The Clippers moved James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland in a second-round pick. I spoke a lot about this yesterday. I also wrote about it over at VSiN.com, where I'm doing a bit of a trade deadline tracker and some betting impact and analysis on all the moves. So if you're interested in what I think about these moves as they're happening, check it out over at VSiN.com. But I want you guys to tell me what you think of this. What does this do to the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference? How do you feel about them as, Eastern Conference contenders, title contenders, whatever? And what do you think about the Clippers? Maybe JVT should hit us with his thoughts on LA because he is a Clippers fan.
I mean, so I think that I can understand the shock at the deal. You know, Ramona Shelburne doing her best LA insider deal when it comes to popping in and talking about how he was in the practice facility putting shots up in Clippers gear and everybody was sad and all these sort of things. But I think at the end of the day, the Cavaliers get James Harden, and it depends on what you think of James Harden, the playoff player, right? I mean, if I were to remove the label of James Harden and say, hey, here's this true point guard that can get north-south, that is one of the best passers in the league, that can finish at the rim and get the free throw lines and really help with the two other backcourt pieces that you have who are both pretty good catch and shoot threats that'll help with them offensively, you would sign up in a heartbeat. And yeah, I think that's one of the big deals. I mean, they're not as big anymore. They're not as small anymore. Harden's a big guard. Donovan Mitchell's not as small. The second-year guard, my mind is mushed this morning. What's his name for the Cavaliers, Zach? There's their other guard, their young guard that you like.
Jerome.
Jerome, thank you. No, not Jerome. But
not Jerome.
The 6'6" kid. Wow.
Jalen Tyson.
Jalen Tyson, thank you.
We lost you for a second. That's why.
Oh, okay. Maybe the internet in the hotel's not as good. But Jalen Tyson, I think all those pieces together really fit. It just depends on if you believe that James Harden, the playoff player, is a complete failure and that he's not going to show up. Because if he is, then that's going to be a really big problem for them. But I think the archetype of what James Harden is, I think is going to fit really nicely, and it makes them maybe the best team in the Eastern Conference. If he is what he is in the postseason as a basketball player, they're legitimately good.
Yeah. Kelley, what about you?
Yeah, I look, I'm interested to see how this all works out. I think it's I've got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions about this. I don't know that this. I am a little surprised. This is what the Clippers did with them playing as well as they did recently, just to kind of wave the white flag on the season. Man, I'm a little surprised by that, especially since you don't really know what the near future holds with any Kawhi fallout. Who knows if Kawhi could be on the move next couple days? I guess I thought it was interesting by LA, and then Cleveland. I think it gets interesting for too. Is this a dump of Garland, and or is it not really? Because you're going to go and re-sign James Harden to an extension, and it's really just going to be, you're going to be paying that same money, if not more, to Harden in the long term. So I think that's fascinating when you're talking about a 10-year age difference between those two. I've always been a little bit more of a Garland fan, and I don't really know what's going on here, because I think this does have a little bit of the vibes of like, are they giving up? They gave up on the guy, right? Like, to what degree? From a basketball standpoint, from a health standpoint, is this a major red flag for the Clippers going forward? Like, I don't know. This might say something about his health with how much he's gone through the past couple years injury-wise. I don't really know. I think there's a lot of questions surrounding Garland. I think you laid it out pretty well for what Harden can impact with this team going forward, JVT. It's what do you kind of believe? I think you can kind of see this through whatever shaded glasses that you want. Do I think he's going to get in there, help the bigs develop, and help a little more offense come out of those guys? Yes, I do. I think this is not that anything's massively changed, but I think there's big time defensive questions in that backcourt now. If Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are going to be on the same court at the same time. And, is there enough balls to go around? Which it sounds insane. We're really talking two guys, but you're talking Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, two of the higher usage guys in the league. Like, that is, neither one of them is really used to getting rid of the ball. And I think most of it's, we've seen this in past stops, right? Like, I still think most of this is going to have to run through James Harden when he's on the court. And it's asking a lot of Donovan Mitchell to kind of change his game and adapt around that. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how it works. I don't think this makes Cleveland significantly better. I will wait and see, though, and could be proof.
I do think it makes the Cavaliers way better, just from the standpoint of Garland never plays. So you're bringing in an all-star for somebody that's really never on the floor. And I do think they were kind of waving the white flag on Garland. I think that they were kind of sick of the toe stuff. And I think I was like Brian Windhorst said, that they're starting to toy with the idea of putting plates in his shoes. And it just does seem like these toe injuries are going to keep following him around. And I think the Clippers are now tasked with just trying to figure that out and get that fixed. And if they can, it was a good deal for them. If they can't, it probably is fine, because like it sounds like they just didn't want to pay Harden. So they were going to lose him, bring in a guy that's under contract for a few more years, bring in a young player in his prime, and kind of makes sense for them. It feels almost like a trade they had to accept, even if even if they didn't necessarily want to blow up, this roster right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also think too, a lot of people are freaking out about like the Clippers and why would you do this? Look, they want to get their books freed up. They have it all set up so that Zubac was going to be like the only contract going forward. I think in 2027, there's a method to what they're doing. And well, I mean, let's be completely honest. They might get into the playoffs. They might win a playoff series, but I don't know if like you're keeping the old crew together just for that. I think if you can, because what if they're right? What if Garland's actually going to heal and he's going to be Darius Garland? Darius Garland and Ivica Zubac is a pretty good core to build together with as you move forward into the future. And I think that's worth taking a risk of, all right, let's ship off Harden. Let's see him if he does it in the playoffs. Let's see if he becomes mercurial again and wants out or just retires or does whatever, because we're approaching that point in his career. And we'll take the bet that Darius Garland can be healthy and he's a good fit, because he is. Darius Garland, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac, when fully realized, I think is a pretty good basketball trio.
And I do think that it's worth monitoring Kawhi over the next, 48 hours or whatever it is. I just like, if there's going to be a trade out of left field, I could see it being Kawhi, because if you just made that Harden move, why not make a similar one and trade Kawhi for like a 25, 26 something, some picks and whatever. I mean, I do think the Pistons are really interesting for Kawhi. I don't think they're going to make that big of a move, but I do really think that there's a chance that they just kind of look at this and say, let's just get on Garland's timeline.
Don't you think they should?
No, I think they should too, John, right? If that's, you just laid out the plan, right? The future plan for the Clippers, that's the plan. Then what's the point of having Kawhi there still? No,
I mean, don't you think the Pistons should? I mean, if I'm the Pistons,
yes, I would.
No, you should.
Pistons.
Go ahead, Zach.
I had the Hornets. The Hornets are interesting. Like, we just heard them kind of like sniffing around on Giannis. Well, if you can get Kawhi much cheaper, and you've already proven that you're kind of one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference over the last 2 months, why not make a little swing where you're probably not going to have to give up any major core pieces? I think that it's interesting for them too.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Jonathan Von Tobel say this, I think yesterday or the day before, that the 10 in the West were locked in. Are we sure? The Clippers definitely in there. They're only 3.5 games up on the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think Memphis is catching them. I don't really know who's catching them, but just throwing it out there.
Like, then my rebuttal would be, who in the world do you think is going to catch them? Utah?
Dallas is the team that...
I'll be honest, though. I hadn't looked at the standings in a while. I didn't realize they were that bunched up, actually.
Yeah, there's a reason I said it.
It would have to be Dallas, because they are the only one to continue to fight every night, and like Flag just turned into a monster, but it's probably going to be these 10.
Yeah.
It seems very likely. I mean, unless the Clippers do sell off and then, let Darius Garland heal. But here, the thing is, the case against the Kawhi trade is that the Clippers don't have any motivation because Oklahoma City has their pick. So unless they're going to get something back, I mean, does OKC call for Kawhi? I mean, what about that? You talk about like things that could happen. Well, you shake your head, right? But I mean, Zach, you're better at this cap stuff. I mean, I always trust that these teams can make these things work if they wanted to. And wouldn't that be a tempting piece to dangle out in front of the Clippers to go, hey, we'll give you your first round pick back this year if you give us Kawhi? That's like, let's do that.
I only shook my head because they could get anybody in the league that they wanted to with their war chest of picks, and they do have salaries to match. It's just it's a matter of whether or not Sam Presti wants to shake up a team that won the title last year and started off this year with us thinking that they were going to win 80 games. So I feel like it's just not going to happen, even though maybe it should.
Wouldn't it be the ultimate irony if the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Kawhi Leonard were to make it to the Western Conference Finals and NBA Finals together, and they were going to face James Harden in the NBA Finals?
Doc always knew they'd win together in OKC.
He did. He always knew.
All right, well, we just mentioned the Grizzlies, and that's a good place to move now because the Grizzlies made the second biggest trade of yesterday, maybe the biggest trade, honestly. It's not going to impact the championship level as much as the others, but they send Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz, and they really just get back 3 first-round picks. Walter Clayton Jr., Taylor Hendricks are the important pieces in the deal. Also sent to Utah are John Conchar, Jock Landale, Vince Williams Jr., and I probably put the most important pieces of those 3 last, but it was a really interesting trade. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I'll go first then. I think that, first off, Ja's on the way out. We know that. So we just have to decide when and where and what that's going to be. Memphis right now is tied for Milwaukee in the standings for the lottery. They are both at 8th right now at 19 and 29. Tankathon has Milwaukee ahead of them. I feel like Memphis is going to be a pretty strong fade team until the market catches up. I think it's very clear what Memphis wants to do this year. Memphis wants to climb the lottery standings as quickly as humanly possible, and they are going to be the, I guess, do we call them the new Jazz, whatever you want? Like, they're going to try to get up there because and look, we have seen teams make the jump, but for betting purposes, if this market doesn't really turn really hard on the power rating for Memphis, might be a team worth fading pretty consistently because they have one goal right now, and that is to lose as many games as possible to get as close to that high percentage to get a first overall pick.
Mm-hmm. How many picks do they have in this upcoming draft now?
Let me see. I have this in front of me right now.
Yeah,
Let's see. We have they have 2 first-round picks. They own Orlando's first-round pick, remember, obviously. And so that's, I mean, think about that. Orlando is, whatever. That's going to be pretty good. We're talking about a high lottery pick, and then wherever Orlando lands, which I'm assuming is not going to be very high in the first round.
Yeah, it's absolutely what JVT just said. This is very, I don't know that I've seen more of a telegraphed, pass in the NBA of recent years. I'm like, hey, we just got rid of basically everybody that's any decent on this team. It's very clear what we're doing. We know how good this draft class is. So yeah, I'm with you, Judd. I think we'll be looking to fade that team. And I'll go to the Utah side too. I don't really know that I was prepared mentally for flipping the switch on this team. Just kind of like 2 weeks ago when we were texting about Joel Embiid, and he's like, well, I didn't think I was going to see this Joel Embiid ever again, frankly. And I'm pretty shocked by it. I really didn't think in one move I'd be flipping the switch from Utah Jazz, complete tanking team that's just been doing this for years now, to, hey, like, everybody in Salt Lake City better start caring about what this team's going to do and start getting used to actually building towards wins next year, because this starts, immediately after this season gets done. And yeah, Zach, I'm putting it as the biggest trade. I don't really know that there's anything else that we saw yesterday that I think is going to have a massive impact on the championship this year. And this is a franchise altering move to bring in Jaren Jackson Jr. and just those 3 guys now that you can build around: Keyonte George, Larry Markkinen, and him. That's huge, man. That's huge. It really puts you off to a good start heading into next season.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they still play the tanking game this year. I think you see a bunch of little injuries for Jaren Jackson Jr. the rest of the season. I think Markkinen sits out a lot, but I think as soon as next season starts, it's go time for Utah, and I do think they're going to be a really strong team because they've kind of been a sleeping giant in the core that they have, with Keyonte George emerging as a borderline all-star and maybe a guy that should have made the all-star team. Markkinen has been an all-star there. Will Hardy's an awesome coach that now has a team around these guys. They're a team to work with. And I think Walker Kessler is going to factor into those plans. It just sounds like they're going to play an all big starting 5 of George, Bailey, Markkinen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Kessler. And that's going to be really interesting because all of those guys except for Kessler could shoot, and even Kessler's developing his jumpers. So it might actually work, even though they will be a little bit slower.
Yeah. I mean, what's how tall is Bailey? Is he 6'9"?
6'8" or 6'9".
Yeah. So you're talking about 6'8", then just essentially 7 footers after that with Keyonte George at 6'4". They're going to be really big. They're going to be really long. What would you make? So what do you think a realistic leap is next year? I'm curious as we head into an offseason, win total wise, if it's a fully realized Jazz team, is there enough there that they would be able to make a run to a Western Conference Finals? Do we think they're that talented? Because you're going to still get some pretty long numbers on them, I would assume, to win the West and win the NBA Finals. I don't know if they're going to do that, but a team that can win a couple of playoff series.
Yet.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going that far yet.
But here's the thing: I think I might.
Guess at the win total for them. 44 and a half?
39 and a half.
Yeah, I think 44 and a half is a good guy because it's where the Spurs were this year. I think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah.
I'm a big Hardy guy.
I bet you it's in between. I bet you it's in between what me and JVT said. That's 42 and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably right. I think they're a playing team next year. And maybe a chance to win a playoff series or two. But I think
they could be top 6. I think it could be top 6 and worthy of a Western Conference future play just based on the upside. And maybe they make a move for a veteran to bring in there because they could use that kind of stabilizing rotation piece now, especially in the backcourt, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I got a betting question for you guys for this season involving this team. If we do think they are going to continue to tank, do we, most improved player, you guys are in on Keyonte George. Do we see Keyonte George hit the bench more often here over the final stretch of the season?
I think they could still do what they've been doing and just play George like every other game and an occasional back-to-back. I don't know. I don't think they're going to need to take him out. I think it's really Markkanen's kind of the son that they orbit around or something. I feel like this is a guy that changes the way that they play because of his like shooting gravity and size and everything. As long as he continues to be out and Jackson doesn't play too much, I think they'll be fine with getting that pick.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the tanky part of what Utah is going to keep trying to do is with Jaren Jackson Jr., not with a guy like Keyonte George. I think George, they're going to be willing to let him go out there because his development is really important in all of this. And I think you can't afford to not put him out there and allow him to keep growing and lose some of whatever he's captured this year going into next year, because very clearly they're thinking about next year. And so you don't want to dumb that down essentially by just sitting him. You want to make sure that I think that he's playing at a very high level. So I would assume that George is going to continue to play the rate that he's been playing.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. It's something I think that's worth monitoring, though, because you got Denny Avdia dealing with these back issues. If Keyonte George ends up getting benched or whatever, Jalen Johnson, I think it's an incredible most improved player race. 3 guys that absolutely deserve to be in it. Jalen Johnson might be the sneaky steal of this at the end.
No, only one deserves to be in it. If I don't win this, I don't know what I'm going to do.
All right, before we talk about a few of the other trades, we are heading into Big Game 60, and this is your last chance to lock it in the lowest price for a VSiN Pro annual subscription. Right now, save $60 off the regular annual price when you sign up using promo code HARDWOOD, all one word. VSiN Pro gives you daily best bets, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools, plus 24/7 video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app. You'll also get our Super Bowl betting guide featuring in-depth team breakdowns, Steve Makkinen's Super Bowl simulation with player projections, and picks and best bets from all of our VSiN hosts and experts. This offer expires after the big game, so don't miss it. Visit vsin.com/subscribe and use promo code HARDWOOD. That's vsin.com/subscribe and HARDWOOD. Like I said, you get the VSiN Watch app, so you'll see these two gentlemen quite often if you take advantage of the VSiN Pro subscription. And we do have some other trades to talk about. We nailed the 2 biggest ones, but I think a sneaky one, or not even sneaky, I think people know the importance of it, was the Celtics landing Nikola Vucevic in that trade with the Bulls, shipping out Kobe White and swapping second-round picks. That was a confusing part of it, but it does seem like the Bulls are getting like a really valuable second-round pick, one that will be in between 31 and 35. So that was actually a nice piece of it for them. But it was an interesting trade because this Celtics team, we've talked about it, all year, all offseason, like the center spot was their weakest spot. Neemias Queta has been really good for them. Luka Garza has honestly been pretty good for them. But now you bring in Vooch, who probably still has a little bit to, little left to offer, especially for a team like this.
Yeah, I would. Go ahead, Kelley. I was going to say the thing here. I'm going to power through you. So the thing here with this is that I'm going to be really interested to see with Vucevic and how he fits in is just how much they're going to, or how well he'll fit in with their offense. And I think he's going to fit in well. I'm just going to be curious to see how much his role changes a little bit in terms of just his shot diet and how this looks for him. I'm really excited to see what that looks like. So he's averaging like 4.5 3-pointers per game. From a betting perspective, Zach, you're the player prop guy. Are we going to start to look at some more 3-point props for Vucevic? He's only averaging just under 2 makes a game. But I feel like as part of this offense, you're going to ask him to kind of float out a lot more and take some steps back and go, dude, like this is part of what we do here in Boston. Start firing those things, brother. Like this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to be curious to see if that's something to really early latch on to once he gets into that uniform, is betting some of his 3-point props over, just because I think he's a really good fit. He's a good rebounder. He's going to help him out. You and I have talked about that. One of the things that have, I think, kind of kept me at arm's length with Boston and this whole talk about they could win the East and, Jaylen Brown and all this, it's the fact that they're an okay rebounding team and an okay defensive team. And I do think that they're going to be pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. All right, we lost you for a second. You want to repeat that?
Yeah, repeat the ending there. Great fit, Vooch, great fit.
Yeah, just great fit. I just think they're going to be a great fit, and I want to play his 3-point props over.
Yeah, I think that's a good call on the 3-point props. Zach, I'll let you answer that more fully. I think that's a good call though, because I think we've seen that with like Horford and Porzingis, right? That's been kind of obvious off the bat. As soon as those guys got in, it was like, just let them fly. Man, this is one of those moves where you're like, I'd be a lot more excited about this if it was 5 years ago, right? Like, I don't know if Vooch has just kind of been rotting in Chicago. I'm really interested to see. Do I think this could be huge? Yeah, I don't know that I'm convinced it will be, but they were going to need this kind of help once they got into the playoffs. I think a lot of people are making the leap to, okay, this means Tatum's going to be ready to go if you move out a player like Simons with what he's been able to do in that backcourt this year. Any thoughts on that, fellas? Because I don't really know that I think more of what we saw Tatum, a couple weeks ago saying, hey, kind of bracing everybody for it taking a little bit longer than people were getting excited for. I think I still believe in that a little bit more than what this signals of him actually jumping back right away. I don't really know. I think this is just them adding a big because they have to add a big.
I do think Tatum's coming back. I think that they were just kind of trying to throw water on like a late February, early March return. I just think it's going to be a little bit later than that. But okay. I do kind of think that buying in any capacity means that they are probably planning to have him back, for the playoffs, even if it's in a smaller role.
I just don't know what that does for you. I mean, he's coming off an Achilles injury. A lot of people assume that he's still going to be Jayson Tatum, and he will eventually.
I know, man. Yeah.
I said it to you last week, I think, Zach. It's like, all right, cool. Jayson Tatum's back. Here you go, brother. Let's play a playoff series against the Cavaliers. Thanks. And it's like, that's a tough ask.
It's a lot,
I think the way I look at it is like, he's not going to be Jayson Tatum, but can he be better than Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shireman and like these guys that are giving them 20 minutes here and there? I think the answer is yes. I think that Tatum's very aware that he's not going to come in and kind of disrupt Jaylen Brown being the number one. I think that was another point of like why he said what he said the other day. I don't think he wants to come in and be a disruptor. I think that he's going to come in, he's going to play off the bench, and I think he's going to be kind of their like bench unit go-to guy, if anything.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's interesting to me because, look, if you're a Boston fan, right, like none of this should be surprising. If Simons was brought in, you knew he was going to get moved at some point, or you should have known he was going to get moved. It's just a little weird that it feels like now they're kind of finishing their roster. And like, Simons played well enough that like people should be are probably excited about him and probably angry that he's leaving. I get it. And you bring in Vooch, it makes you more well-rounded. I don't know if it makes this definitely a better roster. I think you needed someone like him if you're actually going to make any type of playoff push. But yeah, man, this is another one out in the East. I don't think doesn't get me massively excited right away, but I'll wait and see.
Yeah. I think it was all going to be about Tatum, whether or not I view Boston as a contender or not. So this just like makes them a little bit more formidable if he does come back. But I still view them, I think, a little bit below the teams that are at the top of the East. I have them in the group of like, can they win? Sure. Can they win the Eastern Conference? Not can they win the NBA title? But I don't think they're at the top of the list. I think Cleveland, after the move to get Harden, is the number one team and the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I should say that, I guess. I'll stand on that hill.
Zach, what does this do for Chicago?
I tried to write about this at the website. I really don't even know. I mean, you got a pretty valuable second round pick, like I said. As far as like what Simons means to them, I don't know, because like he's an expiring contract. They also traded, well, this is the next trade we're going to talk about. They just got Jaden Ivey. Maybe it's like a, Dark Knight situation where you break the pool stick in half and you tell them that they're fighting for their job. And one of them's going to get a contract this offseason. One of them's not. I don't know. It's really interesting. I think Simons is a solid player, but he's a guy that can't seem to find a home. And I don't know if that's going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, You're talking this backcourt right now. What are the Bulls? Right. I mean, the Bulls are going to make at least one, if not two, if not three more moves, right, over the next 24 hours. It's Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Anthony Simons, Jaden Ivey, Mike Conley. Like, I would assume, Yuki
Kawamura.
Yeah, like you got so many players back there right now. I have no idea what they're doing here in the near future. I expect one or two or three of these guys to be flipped.
I mean, it's also, you tell me, it's also not a very great defensive backcourt across the board. Yeah. So, I know we're tying some of these betting angles in, but this should be a pretty poor defensive team. They get rid of a good rebounder. They've got a whole bunch of just kind of scoring tweeny guards that are just not going to stop anybody. This seems like this was already kind of a, quicker paced, overish kind of team. And that seems like that's going to get turned up to 11 here down the stretch if this is the roster they're going to roll with.
Yeah, you're right, John. Like Kobe White, Anthony Simons, Jaden Ivey. What's the difference?
Yeah, if you're playing, if you're playing Cleveland, who in the world in that huddle you're pointing to? Like, you've got Harden, you've got Donovan. And it's like, I don't know what you're doing there.
I think White's going to be traded today or tomorrow. Yeah. I'd be really surprised if he isn't. It is interesting, though. The Timberwolves apparently chose just not to take him in that deal they made with Conley because they are searching, for the bigger deal of Giannis. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it sounded like they could have just had White, and that was a player that I'd talked about a few times that might be a missing piece in Minnesota. So I wonder if they'll end up regretting that if they don't end up landing Giannis because, man, I think that Kobe White in that backcourt, if you're not giving up a lot, if you're just giving up Conley, could have helped you a whole ton with what you're missing the last couple of years. All right, well, let's move on now to the final trade that I want to talk about that happened already. It was a bit of a smaller one, but Kevin Huerter to the Pistons, Jaden Ivey to the Bulls, Mike Conley gets dumped to Chicago. It sounds like he is a buyout candidate. And I think the big takeaway from this one is we've talked about this a little bit over text, but this was a move that got Minnesota out of the second apron, under the first apron. So able to aggregate contracts now, able to take back more in salary than they send out, I believe. So this was really a move for Minnesota to enter that Giannis sweepstakes with very little limitations. And then for everybody else, it's the Pistons kind of continuing to replace the shooting that they lost with Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. I think the Bulls, it's a redraft move, taking a shot on Ivey and seeing if you could turn him into anything close to the player he was supposed to be, but somewhat smaller deal outside of the fact that there's bigger plans for Minnesota. What do you guys think of this one?
So I'll ask a question here. If whatever a potential deal looks like for Giannis Antetokounmpo, last week I brought up, and I think you agreed, Zach, there's not many teams that would trade for Giannis before the deadline right now that would become championship contenders. Is Minnesota one of them? We've talked about this. I added them at 20-1 to win the Western Conference, considering that they would probably make a trade. It's funny, I thought that trade was Kobe White and not and not Giannis Antetokounmpo. But given the pieces that would need to move, is it worth adding Minnesota now before they potentially get Giannis? If they get him, can they win the West?
So what do you guys lay out? What's the trade? What do we think the trade is right now?
I guess that's kind of, it helps answer the question you just asked is like, Are they giving up too much? So I think it's going to be Randall, McDaniels, and then all of the young guys like Dillingham, Shannon, all of their picks. Like I think that they'll keep DiVincenzo. I think that sounds like it's possible. So I think that they'll try to hold on to some of the win nowish pieces. Oh, Baron J, I think goes out as well. Like, sure. I just feel like they don't have enough first-round picks to hold on to any of those young guys. So you lose all of your young pieces. I'd still say the answer is yes. I just kind of think that they can.
So for our audience, really quickly, so that would mean your core four would be Rudy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards, and Dante DiVincenzo?
Yeah. Naz Reid, we're leaving there?
Yeah, I'm about to go quickly do the math to see if they can keep Reed, but I do think that core four is really damn good. And I'm a Chris Finch fan. I think that he's kind of lost some people over the years, but I still think he's a really good coach. So I would expect him to be able to figure it out, but I don't know.
If you're telling me all those pieces are there, I'm probably running to jump in, John. I'm not making the bet before I know Giannis is on the move, but as soon as that hits my phone, and I'll be moving to make that.
I do wonder.
Randall,
I don't know. Go ahead.
So Randall and McDaniels gets you there alone. So I actually kind of wonder if it's the type of thing where then you send out Dillingham, Baron J, and Shannon Jr., and you get back another piece from Milwaukee, like one of the win now, like if you can get like a Ryan Rollins or something like that. Just like if you're also getting back some salary back from them that will potentially help you with your rotation, because I do think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you go get Giannis, you go get Giannis. But at the same time, we've seen Giannis really only play with a floor spacing big. And so I wonder what that looks like. I mean, with having Rudy kind of clog up the paint and then having Giannis needing a free roll to the basket or a free lane to the basket, how does that spacing look like? And then, of course, all right, DiVincenzo and Edwards are good shooters. But outside of that, who's going to be your third piece that's going to help with that spacing? You better have another shooter out there. And whoever that third piece is, can they create? Because then you kind of get into a vortex of maybe like Donovan Mitchell that he found himself in, which was there's not that many guys who he can trust to create another shot. So I've got to do a whole bunch of stuff. I think at the end of the day, they're going to be very formidable. But there is something about that that's like it's very incomplete, and that I'd be way more in on Minnesota next year with an offseason to kind of fix some of the issues that would be on that roster if they go and get Giannis. And I'd be very curious to see what that looks like. I mean, do you go super big? Do you play Naz Reid with Giannis and with Rudy Gobert, along with Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards, if you keep those five? I mean, I guess in theory it fits. Yeah, but it's too slow. Right, exactly. You get destroyed.
I think where I'd stand with that is I'd feel better about the bets we already made on Minnesota, but I wouldn't be running to bet them at the new price. I think that's how I'd feel about it. Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk about this now, because you know, the whole point of the trade deadline is you want to get ahead of these things.
Yeah.
You know, people, Zach, you'll experience this. It was my favorite phenomenon of VSiN every year. It was post trade deadline and then post Super Bowl. And so that's when I would finally do hits on the NBA around the network. And I was like, cool. All right, like, what do you like? And it's like, well, I like nothing because everything's been factored in already, and these trades have already been made, so there's nothing really to bet. And so you got to do it now.
Yeah, even to that point, me just saying I would run and bet Minnesota after Giannis moved, I didn't realize how much they'd been shorted already. So you get Thunder 115 to win the West, Nuggets 3-1, Timberwolves are 8-1. The third on the odds board already ahead of the Spurs. So is DraftKings bracing for that to come at least.
And that's going to get shorter if they get Giannis.
Right.
All right. Well, let's move on to that then. Are there trades out there that you think might actually happen in the next 2 days that can make somebody interesting to you on the betting market? I think the one that I'll just quickly throw out and toss it to you guys is like, just Miami getting Ja on the cheap, just like coming in late and saying we didn't get Giannis. Let's scoop Ja. Does that move you at all?
No.
No.
You're asking the wrong guy. I'm so anti-Ja right now. It's not even funny. I don't think he adds anything. And by the way, I mean, it's the offense that he hated that eventually got his coach fired. And it's like, I just don't understand what that match is at all. You know, again, for the people listening who don't know, like that was the offensive assistant at the beginning of the year in Memphis last year that made him upset and he didn't like. So I don't understand why that is a match at all or why people think that's going to work.
Me either. I've never really understood. Like, Ja Morant fitting in with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra's never really like made much sense to me either. Like, I mean, look, this is if the Heat are desperate, did they go out? Yeah, do you go after Ja on the cheap? And this is the best they can do. I won't be shocked if we see it, but man, it's weird. And I don't, like JVT said, I don't really know that I'm going to be in right away. I think this is going to be take some time. I'm going to need to see it work first. And then, I mean, look, I think the talent of Ja Morant, I think the coaching of Eric Spoelstra, I can change my mind with that, Zach. But yes, I will be skeptical if that does go down.
Yeah, I'm trying to not let my priors get in the way here because I'm with you guys. I'm not the biggest Ja fan, but like I do kind of wonder if you're just moving out like Terry Rozier and some other $10 million player and you're replacing them with Ja in a Spoelstra system. I know it's the system that he didn't like in Memphis, but he didn't play terribly in it. And I just kind of wonder if, he would realize that this is kind of my last chance to prove that I'm an NBA player. I just have to, shut my mouth and make it work. And it would be a major upgrade in terms of talent for a team that just, I think their only problem is they don't have enough talent. I feel like it'd be a good move for them.
It's their only problem.
Yeah.
There's not enough good basketball players.
Yeah, it is a problem. I do think that Ja, Hero, like Bam, it's an interesting team at least. It makes them maybe a little closer to that group of 5 teams that I've mentioned in the Eastern Conference than they were before. So I would say I would be higher on the move than I would be lower.
We have to hear from the Warriors at some point, right? Like this has been way too quiet and the Warriors not doing anything. Jonathan Kuminga is still a Golden State Warrior. Like that is I don't really know what we should expect at this point. I think they're just doing everything they can to try to get in the Giannis sweepstakes and get him to town. And if that doesn't happen, I don't really know where they go from there, I guess. But I would expect we're not getting through today, tomorrow without hearing from the Golden State Warriors.
I've got something for you. The Cleveland Cavaliers have the third easiest schedule left in the regular season. They just got James Harden, who's going to play and who's going to improve their team. The Pistons have a top half strength of schedule. They're floating around like 14th, 13th. They're 8 games back.
Seed.
I was just going to say division at 10-1.
Oh, okay.
For the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's I think Cleveland's going to host a first round playoff series. That's like as far as I can go with it. And that factored into my play of 6-1 2 weeks ago. So it's
sure. I think that we might see, what Jimmy Butler did for Golden State at the end of last year, where they went, what did they do? Did they go like 21-3 or whatever stupid record they had down the stretch? It was a fake run, but they just started winning games and they were a lot more competent. We're already starting to see the signs of that for Cleveland. And now you couple in one of the easiest schedules left in the NBA. as they move forward with an improved team. And they're going to get healthier. I mean, again, Max Strus should be back. Evan Mobley has been hurt. I think this is a team that's probably going to put together a really strong run of play in the regular season. And with one of the easier schedules, at the very least, I mean, you grab 10-1, and that's going to start to shrink as they kind of cut into that deficit for Detroit. I don't know if they ultimately pull it off, but that seems pretty tempting given what's in front of them and what they improved at the deadline.
A lot of dumber bets you could make out there. I guess I expected that number to be a little juicier, but yeah.
Sure.
It's possible, man. It's definitely possible.
I should say, I think Harden's going to make Jared Allen and Evan Mobley look incredible. It's like a piece of it that I haven't talked enough about. I just think he's one of the premier lob throwers and pick and roll playmakers, and that's going to definitely make them a completely different duo, at least offensively. So I'm really excited to see that. And I do think that like I said, I think the Cavaliers will finish. I think the 2 seeds the most realistic right now. They're so close to the Knicks, even after this whole start to the season that we've been talking about how disappointing they are, that they could easily get there, even though the Knicks are playing very well. Hold on. I do want to throw one more at you guys, or maybe actually 2 more, but quickly I need to say attention to any listeners who are new to VSiN. Signing up for our free daily newsletter is a great way to catch up. Delivered straight to your inbox every morning, VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, and strategies for the day's betting menu. Sign up for free now at vsin.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That's vsin.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. All right. The one that I wanted to mention that I do think is possible we see in the next 2 days. What about Sabonis to the Toronto Raptors, the team that JVT already has to win the Atlantic Division?
I think it happens. I'm a little surprised this is taking as long as it is. What did I see this morning? That it's being held up because Sacramento wants a first-round pick? I guess I was stunned to see that this was they were in talks and there wasn't a first-round pick involved. So look, if that's where they're at, I think Toronto budges, adds that, and we get this done. I actually think it's a little bit of a steal package for Toronto. And I think he makes this team a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. The problem is they're 0-6 combined against the Knicks and Celtics. So my division bet is a little tough. You can't win one of those games, and now you gotta clear the field if you're going to win that division. They're still not that far back, so they can theoretically do it. But I mean, look, I like that team, and as we've talked about in the context of that division, which I think is it's I don't know how to put this. It's a good bad division, I don't think that there's that many incredible teams, obviously, in Boston, New York, Philly's in there. So I think it's still perfectly plausible that they get Sabonis and still pull this off. Can you imagine being 1-3 against the top teams in the division and still pulling it off and winning it?
Yeah, it'd be wild. Yeah. I think it's interesting for Toronto from the playoff outlook, right? I think it's pretty clear to me right now. You've got Knicks, Cavs, Pistons, Celtics kind of in that top tier in the East, and we could say it's wide open, but I think those 4 teams definitely have a leg up. 76ers, I would say, not far behind. Magic, not far behind. But then the Raptors, the Miami Heat, right? Who wants to get into this conversation actually a true contender? I think Sabonis on to Toronto, I think they could get into that conversation as a real contender to win the East.
Yeah, I think I agree. I feel like they've proven that they can really build a nice defense, even with some questionable defensive pieces. So that's kind of why I like Sabonis there, because offensively, he takes them to a completely different level. They really can use a guy that can score around the basket and make plays the way he can. I think the only other one that I think that we might talk about over the next few days that can still happen, I feel like it's gotten a little bit colder, but I feel like Anthony Davis can still be traded to the Hawks. That would still not surprise me because it does sound like Rich Paul just wants him out of there. I'd personally just like to see Kyrie, Davis, and Flag now that we know that Flag is a megastar. I feel like you just go into next season and hope that what you built for this year or what Nico built for this year ends up working out. But I don't know. I think that we still might see AD traded.
Yeah, it's a good call. I don't really know. I'm kind of with you. I kind of like this. I want to see that trio together too. I don't really know if you can though. If you're Dallas, I get it.
Right.
All right, and then the G word. Does Giannis get traded in the next 2 days? If he does, where? And outside of Minnesota, is there anywhere he can go that he makes them a title contender?
Yes, he gets traded. It's to Minnesota, and no, there's nowhere that he gets traded to that makes him a title contender.
No, he doesn't get traded. I'll go with.
I'm starting to think that Kelley's right. There was that love letter pretty much that came out through a Timberwolves beat writer where he said that if he had his choice, he would stay in Milwaukee and compete in Milwaukee, that it means so much to him and his family and doesn't really want to leave. That kind of felt like the first change of tune in a way. that I've heard.
Rip off the Band-Aid, Giannis. God damn it, get this over with.
I think that what he said in that article is essentially John Hurst needs to come up with a plan to keep him there. And it sounds like they're like now throwing the idea of like, oh, we might win the lottery and keep you here. Like we might win the lottery and either get a really good player or trade that pick for a star. But yeah, we have a chance of winning this thing. So why not?
I don't believe it. He wants out. He just refuses to be the bad guy. Just get out. Let's go and get this over with.
Yeah, let's get it over with.
All right, well, I don't want to keep you guys for too much longer, so let's just recap.
Zach, I got to run. I'm about to hang up.
I knew you had to leave. I was going to ask. Yeah, all right, Kelley, you go. I'll read your best bets for you.
All right, thanks. Spurs +2.
Yeah, thank you. Spurs +2 for Kelley. JVT, what do you have?
The Cavaliers today against the Los Angeles Clippers. Get up to 2.5. I'd like 2.
All right, then I have Nuggets +7. Parlay with the Rockets money line versus the Celtics, and Spurs alternate +7.5 versus the Thunder. Ryan Rollins over 26.5 points and assists versus the Pelicans, and Sam Merrill over 11.5 points versus the Clippers. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we will talk more about the NBA trade deadline. JVT will do it on Money Moves if anything goes down. So make sure you head over to our VSiN network and watch us all throughout the day. And then over at VSiN.com, I'll be writing about stuff. And then tomorrow morning, we'll do a little bit more recap on the hardwood handicappers. So enjoy the night. Good luck with your bets, and definitely make sure you have Shams' Twitter on notifications on, although Shams has been getting wrapped by guys like M-Grads. And yeah, I don't even know, just been getting killed this by season. Mannix killed him, yeah. All right, but yeah, enjoy your night. Enjoy the trade deadline. It's always one of my favorite days, 2 days of the year, and we'll have you back tomorrow for some more picks.
Yep.